Right now on Justice, she thought she'd breeze right through, but Hillary got stuck.
I love it because it's so convenient. It is just the best way to get around.
Don't get too comfortable, Hillary. The Republicans may be going after each other, but they've got you in their sights.
Hillary is looking to move back into 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I've kind of got different government and housing in mind for her.
But not so fast, Senator. There's still a leader in this GOP race, and it's not you. I've had it with the establishment's not-so-secret plans for a convention coup. And my anger is the subject of tonight's opening statement. Justice starts now. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. Donald Trump will be joining me in a moment, but first, my opening statement. Do we really need to go through this again? The Republican establishment, desperate to stop Trump and Cruz, still working to nullify our vote. If ever there were a time to not take away our vote, it's now, at a time when more people than ever are invested and voting. You want to keep your status quo, the one where one hand washes the other and we pay for the soap. Now, I've said this before, and the establishment is not listening. The lobbyists keep their offices on K Street. The pharmaceutical companies keep paying them. The unions keep adding to their pensions. And the lawmakers get their re-election bribes. Contributions. While we, the underclass, have to work 2 and 3 jobs, rack up a debt our children and grandchildren are going to have to pay for generations. This week, party heavies Reince Priebus and Karl Rove not directly answering questions and essentially admit they intend to both disrespect us and nullify our vote. Rove saying this.
Donald Trump excites a lot of enthusiasm, but he also excites a lot of anger within the Republican Party and outside of the Republican Party, and a fresh face might be the thing that could give us a chance to turn this election and win in November against Hillary.
Fresh face? You want a fresh face? Aren't you the guy who kept bringing us one Bush after another? And RNC Chair Priebus refuses to say whether the presidential nominee for Republicans will be one of the top vote-getters, Trump or Cruz. He says the Republican nominee is going to be someone who is running. Now, what does that tell you? That the party chair is not willing to say the nominee will be one of the 2 top vote-getters, the top 2 delegate winners. Instead, he quotes Rule 40, that a candidate needs the majority of 8 states. Okay, Trump has won far more. Then, after he pretty much continues to rule out Trump and Cruz, he says our nominee is going to be someone who is running. Now, if you rule out Trump and Cruz, unless the Republicans are looking to nominate Hillary or Bernie, he's signaling that John Kasich will be their nominee. The operative word, their nominee, not our nominee. But more important is Rule 42. It calls Rules 26 to 42 the standing rules. Standing as in temporary. Temporary as in they can be changed. Now, if they can change Rule 40 and give the nomination to someone who does not have 8 states, and if they can change Rule 42, then even if Trump gets to that number 1, 2, 3, 7, they can then move the goalpost to wherever they want. They then maneuver to a brokered convention and give it to Kasich or whomever. Now, these RNC rules are teed up for the convention rigging. They can nullify whatever occurs before the convention. And the 2012 rules that are now in place don't necessarily apply to this convention. The RNC and Rules Committee has the power to change the rules, and there's no way to challenge the results, no opportunity to go to court. The fix is in. You know, I've lambasted Barack Obama for his condescension and his belief that only he knows what's good for us. And I've lambasted the Democrats for their superdelegates committed to Hillary before their state even votes. You know what? The Republicans actually take the cake. They're not even hiding what they plan to do. They are about to change the rules, ignore the votes of people who waited in line for hours, and invalidate the votes of people who have never voted before, and put in a candidate they think is good for them. Whatever happened to your vote matters? Not only is that infuriating, it is un-American. Now, look, I get it. I ran for office. I get it when senators and governors endorse their pals and try to convince you that their friend is best for you. But not since the American Revolution has the ruling class tried so hard and so blatantly to take away our vote. Do you not recall when we dissolved the political ties that bound us to the monarchy, when they strayed from all ideals of equity and fairness? A primer to the establishment. We don't get our rights from government. Government derives its power from the consent of the governed. We institute government to secure our rights, not to allow them to be taken away. Honestly, I don't care what you think of our choice or whether you like our favorites or not. Like everyone else, I will not be a puppet on a string, so stop trying to pull our strings. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter, hashtag Judge Jeanine. And joining me now is Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump. Hello, Donald.
Hello, Jeanine. That was quite amazing. That was great. It was.
Thank you.
It was. You sound like somebody that likes democracy, actually, when you think of it, right? Good job.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's how we were founded. One man, one vote, that kind of thing. But let me ask you this, Donald. And we're so thrilled to have you on tonight. But I want to get right to it.
Okay.
Look. The handwriting is on the wall. They're not even being subtle about it. You hire Paul Manafort. This guy is a veteran of Republican convention floor fights. I mean, are you expecting a floor fight?
Well, we think we're going to get it in two ways. Number one, we think we'll get the 1237, and we feel pretty good about that. But you never know. I mean, it's certainly there's chances that you won't. But it looks like New York is doing great. I love the people of New York, and they seem to like me based on all of the polls. But yet you have other places, and we'll see how it all comes out. Other places are also looking great. New Jersey's looking phenomenal. Pennsylvania's looking great. Maryland, I mean, all over. Connecticut. But you just don't know how it's going to turn out, and it does seem to be a bias against. There's no question about it. I mean, what you're saying is, they're all very nice. They call and they say hello and how wonderful, but it's the world of Republican politics, and that can be somewhat deceiving. So we'll see what happens. I think we'll get it. The other thing, Jeanine, is we certainly will have the most votes by millions. We'll have the most votes, and we'll have the most delegates by hundreds. And if we don't get it, we're just going to be shy, and it seems awfully unfair to possibly take that away from someone when you're hundreds and hundreds of delegates, because by the time it's over, at a minimum, I'll be hundreds of delegates, ahead of Cruz. And millions of votes,
well, let me ask you this.
People don't know, but millions and millions of votes ahead of Cruz.
Donald, let me ask you why it is that, there was a point when you only needed 56% going forward. And now with the results in Wisconsin and some today, although it's not affirmed, I mean, Cruz is moving. What's that about?
Well, it's a very arcane system. I mean, I thought it was a system when I started. I've never done this before. I've been a politician for like 9 or 10 months. And, I was winning the states, and I do win. I guess I have 22 states to perhaps 9 or 10 or something like that. And I've been winning, by all the votes. I mean, the votes are like by millions over. And yet they go in like Louisiana. I'll give you an example. Louisiana, I win Louisiana in the vote. Everybody says, great, great, great. Television's on. Everybody's happy. And then because of some underhanded or whatever you want to say rules, arcane rules, the one that lost gets some more delegates than the one who won. Now, you tell me, is that fair? Now, forgetting about the rules and regulations, how fair is that? And they have these things, and they have landmines all over the place. And I think it is unfair, and I think people are starting to realize that it's not going to happen. So we'll see what happens. We're going to have hundreds of delegates more, and we're going to have millions of votes more.
What's
we're
not
gonna
going to
see
happen?
We're going to see what happens at the convention, but I can't imagine that if I'm a little bit short, and I had to go through it. And remember this. This wasn't one-on-one. This was 1-on-16. You know, we had 17 people in this. So when they would say, I'd listen to this guy, Karl Rove, who still thinks Romney won. I'd listen to Karl Rove on Fox, and I'd say, wow, that's amazing. Because you'd say, well, Donald Trump got 44. He didn't get 50. But you'd have many people running. So it's very hard to get 50 when you have many people.
But Donald, let me ask you this. If the convention doesn't go the way you expect it to be, and if they change the rules, and by the way, the rules can change the week before the convention when the committee meets, and they can change it. There's no appeal. There's no vehicle to challenge it. Do you then run as a third-party candidate?
Well, I have to see what happens, and I have to see what happens in terms of the people that I have that are so loyal, that are tired of being ripped off.
Right.
You know, they've gone 17 years without an effective pay raise. And these are hardworking, incredible people. And they've got, you know, in Bethpage, I had 20,000 people. They reported it as 10,000, but, you know, as usual, they always report it low. We had probably had 21,000 people. Thousands, unfortunately, were unable to get into this massive hangar, this massive, this massive building. And, I mean, thousands weren't able to get in. And, you know, those are people that want to be heard. Those are people that haven't been heard. They've been disenfranchised, Jeanine. And, you know, when you look, these people work hard, and they're getting hit from every angle. Their taxes are going up. The debt is going up in the country. We only make bad trade deals. We only make deals where jobs leave, money leaves, factories close. We never make a good trade deal. We're going to only make good trade deals if I get in. And I will tell you, it's going to be a whole different thing.
And you know, this week, President Obama gets in the fray, and he says your idea about, immigration and the remittance of money to Mexico is half-baked. Why is the president gunning for you?
Well, I was surprised to see that, but I guess he feels he has to. They all are, because they don't want to run against me. Let me tell you, Hillary, the last person Hillary wants to run against is me. And it was interesting because the polls of Ronald Reagan when he was running against Jimmy Carter, the polls were so bad, much worse than my polls. And my polls, some of them are good. Some of the Fox polls, I beat Hillary Clinton. But I haven't started on her yet. The one person she doesn't want to run against is me, and that's why she's constantly bringing me up. She's not bringing up Cruz. She brings me up. So it's sort of an interesting phenomenon that's taking place. And I think once we get started, you know, the only time I really mentioned her was about 2 months ago, and that was a bad week for her. That was a very bad week.
Yes, it was.
So
yes, it was. Now, so you think the president is carrying Hillary's water?
Well, absolutely. And I mean, I've heard you and others talking about the email situation. And, I've known, don't forget, I say this to your audience, I've known you for a while before your great television career. And you were an incredible lawyer in New York and an incredible DA. I mean, you did an amazing job. And
thank you.
I mean, without difficulty, you were one of the greats in the whole country. And you know what you're talking about. I've listened to you on the emails. I've listened to others that I have respect for in the email, and I've read. And she's seems to be as guilty as you can possibly be when you look at General Petraeus and all the others that were just absolutely destroyed over much less. And it looks to me like they're protecting her.
There's no question. And I think with Jim Comey, who I worked with also, that if he had access to a grand jury, it might be different. But let's talk about New York. Now, you are obviously first in New York. People love you in New York. And I want to talk about the 9/11 memorial in a moment. But first, Ted Cruz. So this guy, hates New York values and all that stuff. So he's stumping in upstate New York. I mean, what does he think that he's going to get in New York, and how can he convince people that he really didn't mean it when he said that basically our values were, in the tank?
Well, I just saw the recent poll. He's actually in third place in New York now. And, when he talked about New York values during the debate, and that's when I defended New York and talked about the great firefighters and policemen that went up through the World Trade Center, knowing there was a real possibility that was going to be it, but they had to do it. These were incredible people. I saw it today because I went down to the September 11th museum, which is an incredible place, actually. Right. But these are unbelievable people. And when they talk about New York values are amazing values. And he didn't say that. You know, he's got a liberal spin on it and all. He made that up. When you look at his face during the debate, he was talking of New York values as though he hates New Yorkers, which is his real feeling. And if he ever got in, he would give nothing to New York. He would never help New York. You know, you always need help. I mean, places, states, cities, I mean, they need help. They need help from the federal government. They need all sorts of money for all sorts of projects. He will never give anything to New York. He has hatred for New York, and you could see it the way he expressed. And it wasn't even the fact that he talked about New York values. It was the way he said it, the tone and the expression. And I just don't think the New Yorkers are going to fall for it.
Well, but, you know, he voted against any funding for Superstorm Sandy relief and the medical benefits for the emergency workers that were sickened at Ground Zero. I mean, you know, there is a history there. And I only bring it up because as a New Yorker, I mean, I was in the city that day on 9/11. But I want to talk about, just for a moment, you and Melania went to the memorial today. You made a huge contribution to the memorial. Why did you do that today?
I just felt like doing it because I heard him disparaging New York, and I just thought it would be the thing to do. And I've seen it earlier when it was under very early construction, and I wanted to see how it came out. They've done an amazing job. They've done an incredible job down there. And, you know, the whole group of people, they're so dedicated. They took me for a tour. And they're so dedicated. It's an incredible thing to see, and people should go see it.
It is. And the check, I understand, was $100,000. But before I let you go, you, Melania, and now Ivanka, all coming together as a family before the American people. I mean, how is it that your kids are so invested in your campaign? It's almost as though, I mean, Ivanka just had a baby. And, I mean, it's an incredible story. Your family, close and all for one.
Well, I have wonderful children, absolutely, and I have just a wonderful family, wonderful wife. And, you know, they see what's going on, and they understand that I do a really good job. I mean, you know, I talked about NATO.
Yes, you do.
I talk about different things. NATO it's costing this country a fortune. We can't afford this, and other people have to pay. We're carrying it, and we just can't continue to do it. And now it's all turning out that I was right, and now all the geniuses that study NATO every day of their lives are saying, you know, Trump is right. And, you know, you have they just have, there's no common sense, there's no heart, there's no business, there's no nothing in this country. Everything we do is lose. We never win anymore, Jeanine, and we're going to start winning.
Donald, the people who believe in you are rabid. And I want to thank you, Donald Trump, for being with us this evening, and much luck to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Jeanine. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. And Ted Cruz isn't going away, and this week is on somewhat of a winning streak of his own. Cruz Communications Director Alice Stewart is standing by live to answer my questions about the race, the New York primary, and just what could happen at the convention next. Plus, what is all this Rule 40 talk really about? I'll go one-on-one with the spokesperson for the Republican National Committee about all the craziness that could go down in Cleveland when the GOP nominates a candidate. Justice rolls on.